Hi everybody, this is David Nour, and I want to welcome you back to another live session. It's interesting that a lot of friends, clients, but even people that have heard me speak, people that have never met, continue to watch these videos and get some value out of them. So I'm delighted you're here, whether you're watching live or you watch a recorded session. I try to do these on a somewhat consistent basis. And I often talk about topics that I'm seeing out of the market on a consistent basis. Challenges, opportunities that I think more people would benefit from internalizing. I try to make the concepts sound bite size, if you will, and make them practical, make them pragmatic. We all like constructs and ideas and perspectives we read, but then I'm always wondering, how can I apply that in my life? And how can I apply that in what I'm doing on an ongoing basis? So we just finished, if you haven't watched any of the previous ones, I just finished a series called the 10 Relationship Impact Moments. I literally took 10 concepts that I see individuals, teams, and organizations consistently apply in their business relationships really well. I would encourage you to go back and watch them, from empathy to candor, there's another good one, to lowering your self-interest, to accountability, to really improvement, really raising the bar on how they're better off because they're in a relationship with you. So I would go back and watch those. I'm starting a new series between now and end of the year, really focused on business lessons from real life, business lessons from different facets of my life or life of others that I've observed that I think could have a real impact in your personal and professional growth. So this one is focused, and it's also a chance for you to hopefully get to know the real me. A lot of times when I meet people, I'm either dressed up or in a suit or on a stage, and there's not as much chance for us to interact one-on-one. So this is out of my home office, and through these, and I'm a big believer that what we do for a living isn't necessarily who we are. And there's a whole interesting part of us outside of work that for many of us doesn't come to work with us every day. And it's this important part of our DNA and part of what makes us us. And if you've seen me present or go through training together, I talk about, graph your success to date. Where have you been? What have you done? What has made you the person that you are today? And I believe a lot of these real life experiences is what shapes us. So today's session, and as you may know, may or may not know, several years ago, I got introduced to riding motorcycles. And I've developed this now passion for all things two wheels, both learning how to ride as well as how to work on them. And somebody once told me, it's interesting, it's great that you have a hobby. And I remind them that hobbies fill our time, right? You're bored, you retire, you may want to do something, you get into a hobby. Passions fill our time. Passions make our time. Passions drive us to learn and grow. So I came up with 10 ideas that I believe are applicable in business, in real life, in business relationships, which is my area of focus, from just my motorcycle experiences. And by the way, a couple of references I want to send you to in my blog. If you look up 5 ways to turn failures into success, I talk about some of these ideas there. And also life lessons. I went to a Honda motorcycle maintenance for technicians course. And there's some life lessons from that class as well that I reference in my blog that might be of interest to you. So here we go. 10 lessons, 10 experiences from learning how to ride a motorcycle that I think apply in our lives. Number 1, be willing to try new things. I grew up with teachers as parents. Motorcycles was never in my life, and for a long time you can't afford it. Then you have, you get married and you have kids and you have other priorities, and I still have, the wife and the kids, and they're absolutely a priority. But what I realized was, I wanted to try something new in my life, and I was open to trying that. They bought me a scooter for Father's Day, if you don't know the story, now 6 years ago, and it's become an incredible passion. And now I have, a number of motorcycles, and I've built a garage, and I've been to, we'll talk about some of those different schools to learn about them. But it starts with you. Stop talking yourself out of new experiences. Stop talking yourself out of why all the things that can't happen and why it's not a good idea to do that. And I want you to be open to trying new experiences, open to traveling, open to going to new places, open to one of my big milestone birthdays coming up, and I want to go skydiving. I know all the people that talk you out of it. I've never done it, and it's interesting to me. Conversely, bungee jumping really isn't. That doesn't do anything for me, and I'm not. Again, I also have a risk profile. So I have a beautiful young daughter that I want to walk down the aisle one day. So I'm not about to go. I've seen some ridiculous those GoPro videos. I'm not about to do any of those, but it starts with a mindset of being open to trying new things, trying new ideas, new perspectives. I had a great conversation with the CEO today, and we're talking about boards of directors who demand double-digit growth, but they don't want you to risk. They don't want you to take financial risk or reputational risk. Well, how does that exactly happen, right? So number one, be willing to try new things, and more importantly, stop talking yourself out of new experiences. Nat, Ed, Troy, welcome. Glad you guys are here. Number two, I'm an insatiable learner. I love learning. I love growing. I love trying new things. Once I get into something, I want to know as much about it as possible. I want to learn how it works. I want to learn. So when I say ride a motorcycle, it isn't just get on a bike and turn the throttle. It's learn how to ride well, how to ride safely, how to ride with the mentality that everybody on the road is trying to kill you. But not just riding. I also want to learn how to work on them. I want to learn, and I learned how to change my own oil and oil filters and do some of those, routine maintenance. Unfortunately, bikes are becoming so sophisticated now that it's a lot of electronics, and you could have unintended consequences from doing some of that stuff. But I'm not beyond trying something myself and taking to my dealership of, hey, can you just double check my work? Or can you make sure I didn't miss anything? So when you're an insatiable learner and you're present and you soak things in and you attend different events and conferences, opportunities, you talk to a lot of people, by the way, you create relationships that you wouldn't have without this passion, without this, in essence, distraction from what you do day in and day out. I'm doing a lot of executive coaching, and I've yet to meet an executive that can burn the candle at both ends. So I often ask them, and I tell them about my motorcycle stories, and I tell them, what's your motorcycle? This morning the CEO was tennis. Another CEO loves to run. Another one, is a huge baseball fan, and he played it as a child, and his kids play, and great. Those are all, if they're genuinely a passion, they're an opportunity for you to disengage. They're an opportunity for you to get away from the routine of our days to really refill our cup and really reinvigorate us to come back and tackle that challenge, tackle that opportunity a lot stronger. So number one, be willing to try new things, stop talking yourself out of it. Two, become an insatiable learner, genuinely a lifelong learner to continue to learn and grow. Number three, book smarts won't suffice. I can read, and I have read, books about riding motorcycles. There's nothing like getting in the saddle. And most people that ride need saddle time. I have a friend who has attended several training classes, some of the same classes I have, but she is afraid of riding. And as such, my skills are taking off in a much more accelerated fashion than hers are. And we kind of got around the same time. So book smarts won't suffice. Experiential is crucial. You have to experience anything you learn, anything that you're doing. By the way, I want to mention a great book. A good friend has written a book called kind of Be Bad First, and be willing to be bad. Be willing to, and the notion is, Erica is her name, and she talks a lot about be willing to try new things, and with the understanding that you're going to be bad at them up front. But that's how you learn. That's how you grow. And that's a crucial learning and growing opportunity for any business manager, leader, executive, is you got to create experiences where you can try what you've learned. 4, invest in different types of training, different types of experiences, different environments, different advisors. I'm a big believer of, I've ridden on the road, I've ridden on the track, I've ridden in dirt, I've ridden snowmobiles, jet skis. Those are all different types of power sports. And every one of them is very different than the other. But I've learned if I can get better riding dirt, it actually improves my street riding because the tire slides under you, right? Which is not a normal thing on the street. So if you invest in different types of learning, different types of environment, it enriches that experience and it gives you very different parts and pieces of that learning and growing opportunity. As I said, Number 5, you will fail. The same friend who's afraid of riding, she's afraid of falling on a motorcycle, and it's a very legitimate fear. And everybody has it up front. I'm going with some speed. I don't want to fall. But in 6 years of riding, I've fallen 4 times, twice on the street, twice on the track. Thankfully, and I wear all the gear all the time. So the helmet, chest plate, I actually have an airbag vest that I wear. I wear all the gear all the time, and I learned that early because I walked away from having fallen a couple of times. And I've also gone to an emergency room and x-rays and all kinds of stuff that genuinely frightens you. But the worst thing you can do is then give it up. The best thing you do is get back on the bike and really understand. I wrote here, get over the fear of that failure. And by the way, that fear of failure is keeping you from trying things. I don't want to fall skiing, so I'm never going to go ski. That's keeping you from all these experiences, all these opportunities, all these great relationships that are waiting for you. Number 6, from that failure, you have to learn why something happened, not just what happened. Paul, welcome. Glad you're here. So if you learn why something didn't work, why that product failed, why that new market didn't work, instead of just it didn't work, the insights is from asking the why question. So when I fall on a motorcycle, I've learned that you can't start the throttle with your wrist up, because as you bring your wrist down, it adds a whole lot of horsepower and the bike's going to take off from you. I've learned that when the bike is leaning, you can't give it gas because it's producing a lot of torque behind you and that bike is going to slide out. Well, the only way you can learn that, I can read it, but it's a feel. And I can feel how much throttle I need to give it, more or less. By the way, there's some acts in riding motorcycles that are also unnatural, right? I'm sliding, so let me let go of the throttle. That's the worst thing you can do, because the bike will then stand up and like a horse kick you over. And that's called high siding. Low siding is when you just slide. High siding, it kicks you over. You know how I know that? It happened to me. And you go from, oh my gosh, I'm sliding, to, oh my God, I'm about to go over the handlebars. So beyond what happened and how you failed, you have to understand why you failed. And more importantly, the lessons in that feel of the throttle. Lessons in how much is too much, how much is not enough. Number 7, you got to be proactive in the journey. I told you, I ride on the street, motorcycles on the street. I've ridden on track. I've ridden on dirt. I've never done any kind of long distance. And the friend that I started riding with, we went to track, we would ride on the street, but he's just not a long, and he was very candid. He said, I'm not a long distance guy. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go try it. And this past year, I rode the entire, last year, I rode Atlanta up to Vermont and LA up to San Fran, and it's a beautiful country. This year, this past summer, this past June, I rode the entire Route 66. And what's fascinating, and I want to make a correlation between, again, riding and business, is while I'm riding on Route 66, what I'm asking myself is, I wonder how many businesses are still running their business. They're still on Route 66. Think of some of those cafes. Think of some of those garages. They had good products. They had good service. But the market was over there, and it went right by them. And they missed it altogether. And I still see executives who are running their P&L, they're running their companies, they're running their presence in their markets like they're still on Route 66. And you want to shake some sense into them that your market is going right by you. And you're going to miss it if you don't start to think differently about your business. So proactive in the journey, Route 66 was an incredible experience. And I rode Chicago all the way to Santa Monica Pier. Next year, I'm going to Italy. And for 10 days, I'm going to ride through Tuscany and Umbria and some beautiful country with another friend who's done that trip 8, 10 times. And again, it's being proactive in creating new experiences. Continue to push yourself to learn more. Number 7, never stop. Never stop learning. Never stop growing. Never stop trying new things. Good chance I'm going to buy, a different type of bike next. Whether it's for the long distance or more for the dirt or more enduro, just because, again, they're different experiences. And I want to continue to learn and grow in this journey. And you got to see it as a journey, not a sprint. I didn't set out to learn how to ride a bike and then, okay, great, I'm done. It's an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing feeding of that passion, but continue to learn and grow through it. Number 9, the right relationships, let me know if any of this sounds familiar, are critical, impactful, and they contribute to your story. I've met some incredible people in the motorcycle industry, from Tim Boucher, who's CEO of the Motorcycle Industry Council. Larry Little runs the MIC events, the AIM Expo in essence. Frank Esposito is Vice President of Sales for Scorpion Helmets. Eric Anderson, I mean, just goes on and on. Tim Calhoun has been nothing but kind to me. I wouldn't have met any of these people if I hadn't gotten involved in writing and in learning, and again, being passionate about writing and really figuring out how can I grow through that experience. So the right relationships will make it a great experience. Ricky Steele, welcome. Ian, glad you're here. So the right relationships will contribute to the story. We're all writing our story. What's your story? What will be your story? How will you learn to grow through these other activities that you're involved in beyond what it is that we do day in and day out? And last but not least, life is too short. Again, I had a breakfast meeting with the CEO this morning, and I said, you reach a point in your life where I'm convinced you recalibrate your priorities. I have 2 young kids. I want to spend more time with them. I have aging parents. I want to spend more time with them. And for those of you who have kids or have seen your kids grow, it's ridiculous how fast they grow up. So I'm passionate about what I do. I just finished writing book number 10. I love the clients that I work with. But what I do for a living isn't who I am. And what I do for a living doesn't define me. Rest of the world works so they can live. Unfortunately, many of us, I believe in U.S. and North America and Western countries, live to work. And I'm just not interested in 80, 90, 100-hour weeks anymore. So it doesn't mean I'm retiring to the pasture. It means, again, you recalibrate your priorities. And I wrote, life is too short. Stop doing things that bore you. Stop doing things that don't bring you joy. Stop hanging out with people that aren't adding value to your experiences and to your life. And in this last book, I wrote an entire section on what I call the Jerry Maguire business model. Everybody I meet wants more clients, more business, more. What if we focused on fewer, but really worked on building deeper relationships, more meaningful relationships? I don't need 50 clients. I want 5 clients where I can really impact their business, and they're genuinely better off because of our work together. So we kind of go through life doing. I want you to go through life living, and I want you to go through life with outside experiences that help you think about your business and think about your business relationships. For those of you joining us late, I'm doing a series on business lessons learned from real life. This one was on riding motorcycles. And again, a few years ago, I got involved in riding motorcycles. So here's a very quick recap. 10 points. Be willing to try new things. Stop talking yourself out of them. Become an insatiable learner. Genuinely create a passion for learning and growing. Book smarts won't suffice. Experiential is crucial. You have to experience the things that you get interested in. Invest in different types of learning and growing opportunities. You will fail. Get over that fear of failure, because that failure is what's keeping you from trying new things. Learn why it happened, why that failure happened, not just what happened. Proactive in your journey. I rode through the entire Route 66 last year. I'm going to ride Italy next year. Intentionally create new opportunities to push that passion, push that experience beyond your own perceived reach. Never stop. Never stop learning, never stop growing, because that's what keeps you relevant. The right relationships are critical in your journey, in the story you're trying to write. And life is too short. Stop doing things that bore you. Stop doing things that are not pushing you to learn and grow. That's it for this week. Hope it's been useful to you. I hope you'll keep coming back. I encourage you to share this video with others you deem appropriate. And I would say come back to our blog as well. nourgroup.com/blog is a really good place to learn more about my writing, books, and other things I'm working on. On that note, make it a great rest of the week. Thanks, everybody. Glad you were here. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.